we would like to just dive in and share more about who we are and what we do for students like you. Folio is a job market platform that trains students to become skilled freelancers. Our venture fellowship has helped thousands of students and recent graduates across 20+ universities secure internships at venture-backed startup. Please scan the QR code on the screen to learn more about the Venture Fellowship Program, and you can also access resources within the Folio community and be invited to exclusive events and opportunities like today's speaker series. All right, and now to kick things off, I am delighted to introduce our speaker for today, Yegór Kryukov. Yegór leads data science and machine learning engineering teams at Capital One. He has over 15 years of experience in machine learning, natural language processing, and artificial intelligence across financial, government, and healthcare sectors. His journey began as a senior datacom engineer at a nationwide telecom center where he led large-scale network implementations. He later transitioned into managing Azerbaijan's national disease surveillance tool at Black Veach, followed by modernizing the education system at European Profiles Greece. Subsequently, Yegór also served as a senior data scientist at the FDA's Medical Data Enterprise AI program in Washington, D.C., where he and his team utilized advanced language processing technology to identify trends and detect safety issues across the life cycle of medical devices. Now, as a senior machine learning engineer at Capital One, Yegór is excited to share the extensive knowledge and experience he has gained throughout his distinguished career. Yegór is also an avid soccer player, photographer, cook, and ski instructor, and you can learn more about him and his work at mindthatdata.com. Yegór, go ahead and take it away.
As Shravani mentioned, I work for Capital One. I'm a technical lead for the team that develops software to build machine learning models, specifically in Gen AI space. Apart from skiing and soccer, I recently got my sailboat skipper certification that I'm super excited about. So if any of you own a boat, I can captain it for you. Next one, please. Let's talk about my early career. I'm originally from Tashkent, Uzbekistan. I got my bachelor's degree in computer science from a college over there. While in college, I had like a bunch of odd jobs, like not really related to software development or anything like that, just to support my life while I was in college. But one of the last gigs that I had was I designed computer networks, and it was like over 20 years ago. Everything was just about to be proliferated with computers. And one of my last designs that I did for that company, they just liked it so much, and they were doing this computer network designs as their main job. So they offered me a job, and that's what I took right out of college. And it was a small company, my first working experience, but what I learned there is people really like if you have problem-solving skills, right? My job is to make sure that my boss's life is easier and not to bring more problems to my boss. And it can look differently in many different places, but this is the lesson that I would like to share, right? So think about how there is a problem ahead of you. How can I solve this? Who should I talk to? Like, what resources can I use? It doesn't mean that you always are able to solve the problem right ahead of you, but at least have proposed solutions. Here's what I did. Here's what I think might work. Don't come to your bosses saying like, "Hey, doesn't work." Like whatever you said doesn't work, right? Nobody likes that. All right, next one. I'm skipping a few of my jobs over the years, but essentially after that, as a side gig, I started doing those building computer networks on the side, and won a contract for one company, pretty big company. They also liked my job and my work, and they offered me a job. And I guess you can sense like kind of a similarity here. So in those years, work found me, right? So if if I wasn't looking for a job, I wasn't like applying to multiple places. I just happened to be in a place where the economy was booming and people needed companies needed people with skills. So, which I think still a little bit applicable here, right? In this day and time, less than it was back in the day, but where you are in an environment is important. Who you talk to, what connections do you have, even if at that early stage of your career. So try to surround yourself with people, and I'm going to use the word networking, quote unquote, loosely here, but like that's important. That's how you extend your options. So started the company, got a job at a big company, progressed through ranks pretty fast, and I don't know, 5 years after working as a system architect at that company, that would be maybe 6 or 7 years out of college, I was leading a team of 15 engineers across 6 countries. It was fun because I was traveling a lot. My fun story about this is like that I once landed in the same airport twice in a day, but it was tiring. Next one. I was so tired that I decided to like that's enough corporate work for me. So I quit. I slept for 3 months, and I decided to open a restaurant to to change things up because the idea of feeding people, I like to cook, right? Resonated with me. I learned a ton, found new friends, lost all of my savings. I don't recommend opening a restaurant to anyone. But I was featured in Forbes magazine as a young entrepreneur. That opened some doors for me. And after that, I lived in 6 different countries, and I moved to the US eventually, and I joined an e-commerce company as a minority partner. And what started happening is we were selling a lot of products and we had thousands and thousands of clients. And I just started breaking Excels with the amounts of data that was being generated by the interactions and whatnot. And I decided that I need to go back to school and learn a little bit more on what to do about the data and how to analyze it more effectively. So I exited that business, sold my shares to my partner, and I went back to school to GW here in DC. And I took this like intense 6 months data analytics and visualization course, and that's where I learned about NLP, natural language processing, and that just struck me as something so valuable because most of the business information in the world is in a form of text. Even spreadsheets is text, right? So I thought if I learn how to work with computers and how to teach computers how to understand text, then like I'm golden, right? Like I'm applicable everywhere. So the lesson from this maybe I worked in a lot of industries by that time, so I knew kind of a lot of stuff with maybe very shallow depths, right? Um, and it's important to be a professional in maybe 1 or 2 fields. It's okay, especially early in your career, to kind of change companies, change industries, and to learn what you like, what you don't like. But eventually, if you want to be competitive on a job market, you need to find a niche where you would be applicable and go deep into that niche. Next one. So right after that course, and again, I'm accelerating a little bit my career. There were a couple other companies, but I ended up working for Food and Drug Administration, and we were developing models to detect technical issues and do root cause analysis with medical devices using internal and external data. That was very, very interesting project. FDA regulates 20% of the market of the US. It's insane amount of monetary value and amount of products. They get some 15,000 reports daily. So building algorithms that help them analyze that amount of data was extremely rewarding. I was happy there, but a recruiter from Capital One reached out to me, insisted that I go and talk to them, and they hired me. And I got to work on some exciting and amazing projects too, with a lot of data. To me, governments and financial industry have probably the most data there is, like deep data about individuals and their patterns of behavior and whatnot. So as a data scientist, as a machine learning engineer, you have all of the data to work with, and data is what feeds all of the models. This is where I am right now in my career. What's going to be next, I'm not sure. But one thing I learned from that moment, I realized that, hey, I don't have the knowledge to be able to analyze that data in that e-commerce business, and I need to do something about it. It's literally learning nonstop. It's never going to change. You think you finish your college and your education ends? No. If at least in the machine learning industry, things are changing so fast. Can be tiring, but essentially, like I read AI, LLM, natural language processing newsletters daily. I try to read 1 or 2 significant papers weekly. I still attend like courses on specific parts of machine learning that I'm interested in. I still read books on clean code and clean architecture. So this is not going to go away at all. So the lesson here is, if you want to stay relevant, prepare to learn daily. Next one. So just a couple of things to talk about ups and downs, right? It's amazing how sometimes the solutions that you come up with solve a real business problem or real people problem, and it's extremely satisfactory. But there will be ups in your career, right? And I put one of them here just as an example. I'm a very energetic person, and sometimes I can come up as a harsh one, and sometimes I go too far. And very hard thing to learn was one time my team told me that essentially that like I'm not a good person to interact with, right? It was a very hard pill to swallow, but I welcomed that feedback. I adjusted my behavior, and I built a lifelong relationship with those people on the team. So the lesson here is stay humble, right? Whatever you're gonna achieve, and I'm sure all of you will be able to achieve good things and great things in your career. And if you make mistakes, own those mistakes, right? I openly admit that, yes, I heard the feedback. I'm going to do something about that. It's way better. People will let you do that, and that would be way better than you just saying like, no, there's no, I did nothing wrong here, right? So don't do that. Don't be that guy or gal. All right, next one. What do I wish I knew in my teens, in my 20s? That was a hard one for me, because like they ask you these questions all the time, and you kind of like trying to think what would be really, truly interesting. So one thing early in my career, what I thought was that I need to focus on algorithms and coding and technical solutions, but not so much on relationships with people around me, right? And turns out this world we live in is built for people, not for the machines and not for the software. So lesson number one, absolutely, relationships are important. Like don't burn bridges, try to stay, be nice to people, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes I know that for myself, when I was a young engineer, I thought that I know everything. And that's not true. You think that you know everything, but you don't. Find people who can mentor you. Find people who would like to share their experience with you, and that's surprisingly easy, right? People love to talk about their experiences. People love to help out. Just don't be the person who shows up to a mentor session is like, what do I do? Like, come prepared, right? Ask questions that you thought about, do your homework, that kind of stuff. Third one I talked about a little bit. Try to find a field that you're interested in and stay in that field for a while, right? In my experience, I saw engineers early in their career that quickly realized after maybe a month or two in their job that this is not the most exciting part of their life, that specifically what they're doing right now. And they try to hop to another team or another company, and like 2 months in, they see the same thing. And I get it, right? That might be the case, but the key here is a little bit of consistency. Try to stay with that team, with that field for at least a year. That will give you a little bit more understanding, real understanding what that job is about. And there is this term that I honestly learned very recently. I think it's called job crafting or career crafting. But the point is, one of the parts of that is changing your mindset towards the work that you do. And there is an article in Harvard Business Review about this. And the example they provide is this person, they worked as a janitor in a hospital, but they were way more happier in their work than other janitors. And they were trying to figure out why. So that person, she decided to see her work through the lens of the patients, right? Because if a patient shows up and, like, I don't know, the toilets are dirty or the restrooms are unusable, then they will not be happy, and maybe they will get infection or something, and they will stay longer at the hospital. And it's the same job that she was doing as other people, but she decided to change her mindset towards that, right? And that changed her attitude towards the job, and she started getting joy out of that. And it's like, it might sound silly, but it works, right? I know for myself, without knowing that term, I did that in my life. Sometimes I would be assigned a project that I didn't really enjoy working on, but I knew that I need to solve it. So what parts of the project can I find that would be helpful? Maybe not for me, maybe for the business, maybe for other people. That helps. All right. And last one, physical health is important. I try to stay active as much as I can, and you should too. Sitting by a computer with your or looking at your phone, by the age of 40, you wouldn't be able to get out of bed. Believe me. I know, like, everything will hurt. So move, eat healthy, join a club if you enjoy Group activities, join sport club where you play group activities. If you enjoy individual activities, go do a gym or like play tennis, something, but find something that will sustain you for years, that will raise your level of endorphins and happiness in your life. And you will be more productive at work. And you will be able to outperform people who don't do physical activities if you can. All right. And I really like this saying that plans are nothing, planning is everything. So in different cultures around the world, they have a different version of this. I think a Chinese proverb is if you don't know the direction, oh, if you're going nowhere, you will reach nowhere, right? So the goals might change, your desires might change, but the fact that you think, okay, in a year, this is where I'm going to be. In 5 years, this is where I'm going to be. In 10 years, this is where I'm going to be. It's all going to change. But the fact that you put your mind in the moment into that future will allow you to start thinking like, okay, what do I need to do to get there right now? And you will start aligning resources. You will start aligning your plans toward that goal. That goal changes, that's fine, right? At least you were going somewhere. Don't make the mistake I did in my 20s, just like hopping from job to job just because people offered me some. All right, next one. Future of ML. I don't know. There are a lot of things that happened in the last few years. The availability of compute resources and the level of compute is extraordinary, and things that we would not dream of, we would not be able to dream of, I don't know, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. Now we can run large language models on your mobile devices. So I know I'm biased because I work in NLP and AI, but it seems to me that AI is not a hype. I truly believe that everyone is using AI right now, even without knowing this. If you use a phone, you use AI. If you cross the street, those street lights, there is a high likelihood being switched by a machine learning model that analyzes traffic patterns and so on. If you, I don't know, watch TV, if you use internet, the network resources are being routed now by machine learning algorithms. Obviously, ChatGPT and Meta and Copilot, everything is there and available. So I don't know what the world is going to look like in 10 years, but one thing I learned is you need an ability to be able to pick up a new skill and pick it up real quick, right? So the good news is the brain is like a muscle. So if you keep exercising your brain through learning new stuff actively, then your neuroplasticity will allow your brain to pick up new skills very fast. So if you keep learning throughout your career regularly, if there is a new skill that you need to pick up, you have a higher chance of picking it up quickly compared to a person that doesn't learn as much. And the next one. Oh yeah, I think we open to Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Yegor. That was extremely insightful. And now we're going to open it up to audience Q&A. Remember to use the Q&A box if you have any questions. I see some coming in Slack and through the Q&A option. Be sure to also upvote if there's any questions that you particularly like to be answered. So to kick things off, Yegor, what do you think are the most critical skills and knowledge areas for someone aspiring to be a machine learning engineer?
And then experience. If your job does not allow you to run machine learning models, find a hobby, like do a side project on your weekends, something to play with whatever you're passionate about.
Awesome. That sounds great. To move on to our next question, we have 𝗂𝗵𝗶𝗀 Patel, who's asking, given the recent surge in AI and machine learning applications, schools are recognizing their importance. However, it is still relatively new in academic settings. Beyond traditional news and online resources, what additional resources do you recommend for staying at the forefront of AI and machine learning advancements?
Papers, reading papers. There is a YouTube channel called 2 minute something. So essentially, it's a 2 minute videos reviewing each paper. Good approximation. Papers with code. Sign up for newsletters like TLDR AI is a good one. Every morning you will get most relevant news. Yeah, that's how I stay up to date.
Awesome. 𝗂𝗍𝗓 asks, what is something that students frequently mistake for when trying to upskill on their own in AI and ML?
I'm not sure. It's been a while since I was out of college, but what I see a lot of times in with engineers early in their career, they try to solve a problem and they try different angles and they are stuck, right? And they don't tell their teams that they're stuck. And they keep showing up to stand-ups and they keep saying like, no problem, like no blockers, everything's fine. You need to try to solve a problem yourself, right? You need to use whatever resources you can, use Copilot, talk to ChatGPT, whatever, right? But if you're stuck, find someone with experience you can talk to. Either at your university, a TA, or if it's beginning of your career, like with your team, literally, you would be amazed how something that you were not able to solve for like days could be solved in like, I don't know, 30 minutes. So don't if you're stuck on something, find someone to talk to, and it's worth paying $20 a month for a premium version of an AI model right now. It doesn't matter whether it's going to be Gemini or Copilot or ChatGPT. Those models are good enough to help you significantly if you're stuck and blocked on something.
Great, thank you. 𝗁𝗍𝗕 asks, what are some tips you would give a master's student with no prior full-time experience who is trying to get into the Gen AI industry in today's job market?
Well, that depends, right? Oh, the student, meaning like you're still in college.
Yes, I
If you're
believe
still
I'm
in,
not.
yeah. If you're still in college, well, start taking classes in ML, right? If that's not possible and you're trying to land your job, if you find a job at a tech company and you're working with a team that's not necessarily doing any ML, try talking to your manager, like try to find other teams, maybe allocate 10% of your time helping those other teams to whatever they can, like data labeling. Data labeling is extremely tedious, but like if you will show up every time to help label the data for an ML team, they will be happy to take you on board anytime. So, but there are no easy answers. It's a lot of work. There are a lot of stuff you would need to learn.
Great. 𝗏𝗏 asks, I see that most of the ML data science positions require domain-based experience, and they ask questions related to the type of data we've worked on in interviews and features. How to clarify this to interviewers if we don't have data science experience in real time?
You have to be honest about this, right? I know that when we are hiring someone, maybe for their first job, and Capital One has job programs that are tailored specifically for students or recent graduates. We don't expect you to know that kind of stuff, right? We know for example, using real time. Maybe you had an internship at a company where you use batch processing as opposed to real time, or maybe you did a summer project on your own that did some kind of processing with data. Just be honest and tell like, hey, I now work with real time data, but here's how I would solve the problem based on my understanding. And through your thinking, it's very easy for your interviewer to see like whether you know how a model works or how model architecture works, and you can and you understand how data moves through a model, for example, or through a network. Yeah.
All right, our next question is, with all the hype around large language models today, with self-driving cars 5 years ago, and who knows what technology we'll see in the future, how can someone determine which area of AI or ML to specialize in?
I don't know. I know that, I guess this is what I alluded to when I said that AI is not a hype, because self-driving is a very niche market and they have a very, very hard problem to solve. It's like it's easy to build a visual model to solve for 99% of the situations on the road. It's very hard to get to 99 and 5/9 after the point. Where language models applicable everywhere where we have text, like from, I don't know, writing emails to proofreading to helping you search to do research. Just think of RAG pattern, retrieval augmented generation. Instead of you trying to parse through like 10, 20, 30 links from Google, the model does that for you. And instead of spending 2 hours trying to find an answer on Stack Overflow, it gives you an answer within a second. It might be wrong, but like 9 times out of 10, it will help you. So, and it's applicable everywhere. So that's why I'm focusing on this, right? I think it's going to be applicable, but like you wouldn't know what. You're exactly right. Maybe in 10 years we'll have like fusion fuel everywhere, and everyone will need to be a nuclear engineer. I don't know. Just massage your brain and learn how to pick up new skills.
That's great. Maybe to rephrase that question, how did you decide what area of AI and ML to focus in on?
Yeah. When I went to school the second time in that data analytics class, I was trying to figure out how to analyze, for example, responses, customer responses from Amazon. It's a bunch of text, right? And I don't remember how exactly I stumbled upon this, but like I learned about NLP and all the techniques that can be applicable, and it just dawned on me, everything is text. So if I learn how to do stuff in NLP, I will be valuable to any company.
That's awesome. Awesome. Okay. Our next question is from Raymond Chen. What skills does your team look for when making a new hire, and what does the interview typically look like?
So for 𝗵𝗏 specifically, to be able to get onto our team, you would need some experience, maybe like a few years of experience. So we probably wouldn't hire someone right after college, due to no fault of their fault, right? That's why we have programs for recent graduates. And they call TDP, technical development programs. It's like for people in the last year of college, and go Google about that, and feel free to reach out to me with more questions. So, but if the general answer, right? There are certain set of technologies that we work on and certain set of knowledge that needs to be done. Like, for example, and I'm making this up, right? Let's say experience in AWS SageMaker and knowledge of XGBoost models, like a skill in a technology. And there will be a list of skills and a list of technologies for a resume. And then for 𝗵𝗏 specifically, we have this thing that's called Power Day, where if you are going through the process of getting hired, we have 5 or 6 interviews with you during one day. It's like from early in the morning till late in the afternoon. And those interviews, there will be like 2 technical interviews that would probably have questions about those technologies or that skill, and another technical interview with another engineer, and then 2 behavioral interviews where we would assess how you act and interact in your daily life and so on. And then a job fit interview where we would talk specifically about your experience as it relates to this job. And then at the end of the day, these interviews are with different people. We all get together and we have what's called a consensus call. So and we share our findings, and by the end of the day, we make a decision whether we would hire or not. And that is done to reduce bias. And like, for example, 2 technical interviews, so like 2 engineers will speak with you, right? That's how our process works, and it's different at different companies.
Great, awesome. Our next question is, 𝗁𝗲𝗁 asks, could you share about how you quickly pick up a new skill? Is there any specific strategy or technique that you use?
Yeah, there is this book called Deep Work. I think author is 𝗁𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗁. Essentially, there is a bunch of research that shows to be able to learn something, you need to focus on that thing like extremely, extremely well. So, for example, I don't have any notifications on. Like during my workday, very few people will, like, my phone wouldn't ring, but maybe for 2, 3 people in my life, right? Like I don't have notifications from my email. I don't have notifications on Slack, anywhere. When I know that I need to check my emails, I go open my email and like spend the next 15, 20, 30 minutes going through emails. So like next 15, 20 minutes going through Slack messages. And I do that 2, 3 times a day. But those chunks between those activities, I'm fully concentrated on something. So if I need to pick up, I don't know, read right now, for example, I'm trying to upskill myself in onyx. That's a standard of saving machine learning models. So I tell everyone on my team, okay, I'm going to be out for like 2 or 3 hours. And then I just read and I code and so on. And that without any distractions, that allows you to accumulate knowledge way faster than you trying to be reading like 2 sentences, then like checking your Instagram, then like reading 2 more sentences. That slows things down. So highly recommend that book. That would be helpful.
Great, awesome. All right, Noah Johannesson asks, what area do you find new grads/intern candidates struggle with the most or could do better in? Also, what's your favorite food to cook? So it's a 2-part question.
With favorite food, I'm ethnic Russian, so I like cooking Russian food and Uzbek food. But also I get bored very easily, right? So I'd like to try different stuff every time. Like, I don't know, Indian cuisine. I like a good burger, so really different. The areas that grads struggle the most, um, I would say maybe an ability to kind of try and see a bigger picture, right? When you're given a task, when you just join a team, and you're given a task, write this module that is able to take this data from this source, transform it, and like send it somewhere else. Try to ask yourself, and not yourself, ask the team. Yeah, absolutely, I understood. The scope is clear. Just trying to understand where this module fits in the bigger picture, like where this data is coming from, why, what is the business goal, right? Now, don't try to go and fix things. Just like understand the context beyond your work, because that will allow you to then later on think a little bit better in terms of, okay, what interfaces does that module need to have, in what formats do I need to provide the data, and so on. So yeah, I would say like an ability to kind of slow yourself down a little bit, look around, and then go ahead. That's the skill that I think I'm not seeing a lot.
Sure. Thank you for the advice. All right, the next question is J. Ramanathan asks, what is the biggest regret you have in your life, life-wise or career-wise?
Um, I would I wouldn't necessarily say it's the biggest regret of my life, but early in my career, not valuing relationships with people and like burning bridges, something that I regret.
Great, thank you. All right, 𝗁𝗏 asks, I am trying to get into NLP, but there seems to be a lot of information out there. Can you recommend specific resources for learning such concepts?
Yes, there are two two areas of NLP right now. One is called bag of words models, and another one is transformer-based models. And one is all the hype before 2018, another one all the hype after 2018. So if you want to learn latest and greatest, just go to Coursera. There are courses from deeplearning.ai. There is this one course that called natural language processing from deeplearning.ai. They talk about a little bit about bag of words model and introduction to transformer models. That is a good course. Yeah, and take it from there. And then at some point in time, 𝗁𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗁, the former Tesla AI lead, has I think a 2-hour YouTube video of how to build a GPT model. That's also a pretty good tutorial. But do that first course first, and then do the 𝗁𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗁 video.
Fantastic. All right, Kevin Patel asks, AI and machine learning has sparked significant discussions around regulation. Given the complexity of the field compared to more established industries, how does Capital One approach the integration of regulatory considerations into its AI and machine learning projects? And do you prioritize upfront regulatory assessment or adopt a more iterative approach?
First of all, a disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer, and whatever I'm going to say right now is not the view of Capital One. That's my personal view, right? So, first of all, Capital One is in a highly regulated industry, meaning, for example, we as a bank cannot make a credit decision. That is, whether to give you or not give you a credit card with a model that cannot be explained, right? So because of that, we cannot use generative models in a lot of businesses, in a lot of business areas, because they are unexplainable right now, and there is no way to explain them. And because we're in a highly regulated industry, we have so many checks already in the models that we employ and use, that we wouldn't be able to do something that like Google does. They put an unproven model on the front page of their research of their main product. We cannot do that. We're not allowed to do that. We have this thing called Model Risk Office. It's an organization within Capital One and any other bank and any other regulated industry. So when we have a model that we would like to put into production, these guys make sure that we as developers of a model go through rigorous checks and put guardrails and all of the stuff. So it's very iteratively. Sometimes it's frustrating how slowly we move, but like we still move pretty fast.
Awesome. All right, Muskan Minocha asks, how should I leverage my prior experience in AI pre-2022 and make the best of my work gap due to my 2-year master's program? I did try getting into LLMs, got the basics right, but I feel that my actual skills can only be obtained after getting back into the market with a company that actually has that kind of data and also that production level of technology. What's the best way to get back on track?
So I think you said that you have some skills pre-2022. I would try doing two things. Number one, try to find a position that has those skills. right, that you already possess in a company that probably has more to offer. And also you need to work on upskilling yourself, right? I don't know how much time you have, but like maybe do one or two side projects that you can put on your portfolio, right? To showcase what these new skills that you're trying to obtain.
Great. All right. 𝗁𝗲𝗓𝗂𝗓 asks, could you please share your experience regarding the importance of math knowledge in AI/ML? Is it possible to be a professional or expert in this field without a background in mathematics?
Short answer is yes, but it's going to be applicable for smaller subset of machine learning engineering. So you wouldn't be able to develop new models, for example. You wouldn't be able to work in data science. You would be able to work in machine learning engineering. That is the part of intersection between software engineering and putting models in production. So you can still be a good software engineer, but your scope can be very limited. You still would need to understand how a model works, and you need some math for that. You don't have to know like very deeply advanced math, but like some linear algebra, and there are some courses, there are courses, but there are also videos on YouTube on introduction to linear algebra that you would need to have that at least.
Great. All right. 𝗁𝗲𝗓𝗂𝗏 asks, how much data do you generally handle in real time at Capital One, and the size of it on average for building data science solutions?
It varies, right? Different models require different amounts of data, but Capital One has over 100 million clients. And like we talking about gigabytes and terabytes of data.
Great. All right. 𝗁𝗲𝗓𝗂𝗓𝗏 asks, as a machine learning manager, what do you like to focus on in a freshman's resume? And if you have to apply as a freshman in today's market, what are the specific skills, points, projects would you plan to specify in your resume?
That's a good question. Here's what I would do. Like find 5 or 10 job descriptions for which you would like to apply for, and then find the commonalities from those job descriptions, and that will give you a set of skills and set of experiences that will likely get you into those positions, and then see where you have the overlap, and then put those skills that you already have like very visible on top, saying this is the skills that I like in your skills section, and then highlight the relevant experience that tailored to those 10 job descriptions that you looked at. Yeah.
Great. All right. Our next question is, how important is mentorship in your career, and how can students find mentors in the AI/ML field?
Mentorship is very important. Like I had a session with my mentor earlier this morning. Mentorship can come from various places, and not necessarily from someone who's like above you, right? You can mentor each other at the same level, right? I'm sure you know that you know some stuff better than like your next fellow student, right? You can mentor each other in different stuff. So you can start with your peer group. If there's a skill you want to pick up, or like, I don't know, life advice, and you know that your friend is like has really good emotional intelligence, go talk to them. But then how to find mentors? You can reach out on Netflix, on LinkedIn. Reach out to people. Surprisingly, like people would like to help in this field. The field is very open, but be very specific. right? Don't try to waste someone's time. Just say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what my background is. I'm looking for mentors. Are you open? Like, I need like maybe 30 minutes of your time every 2 months. Here's a list of questions that I need your help with. Think ahead. Yeah. And then if you find one mentor, and if you appear to be very motivated and driven, and you come prepared to the next meeting, and you like did everything that the mentor asked you from the previous meeting, you can always ask, can you introduce me to someone else? And then they will be willing to introduce you to someone else.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of building upon that, how do you see the role of machine learning engineers evolving in the next 5 to 10 years? I know you briefly touched on it in your answer, but if you want to give more context.
AI models are becoming very, very helpful even right now. I use AI in my coding daily, right? Agentic frameworks will start doing a lot of stuff for us in near future. I don't know, maybe in 10 years we won't be writing software. Maybe we will tell a machine to do something. But an ability to think of complex processes and tie them to business requirements is still going to be there regardless, unless maybe generate what's it called, AGI, artificial intelligence will be developed by that time. I don't know. I hope this is helpful.
Great. All right. How do you address ethical considerations in your work with machine learning? Have you experienced an ethical dilemma with AI?
We have a lot of stuff that we need to do before we launch models into production. There are regulatory requirements. For example, we cannot use certain data points as features in our machine learning models, like race, country of origin, age, that kind of stuff. So the first step is to make sure that your data set does not have those features at all, right? Then we anonymize the data. We make sure that like names of the people are not there, because and I'm making this up, right? Like we don't want one name to be associated with higher predictability score than the other name. So stuff like this. And then there is the model risk office is to which I talked about. Their job is to make sure, not to make sure, their job to help us as model developers to think about blind spots that we might have. And they have a lot of experience with different types of models. So they would share other considerations that we would need to address. Yeah. Yeah.
Great. And building off of that, what are some of the current trends and future directions that you see machine learning going into that you feel that this particular audience would benefit from knowing?
Well, everything's going to be in the cloud. Not going to be like Capital One is in the cloud completely. Other companies are following. And the models that are being trained and run right now require enormous amount of compute. So an ability to work with cloud technologies, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and their parallel and distributed networks of GPUs to train and serve models. This is very, very important right now.
Great, awesome. And I believe we have time for about 2 more questions. So audience, if you have anything else, please feel free to put it in the Q&A. My question for you is, how do you manage work-life balance in such a demanding field?
Not well, but I know that I'm an early riser, right? I wake up early in the morning. I get to the office by 7:30, and I have maybe 1.5 hours before the meeting starts. So that's the most productive time of day for me, and I know that my productivity wanes after like 3-4 p.m. And I try to be consistent in doing my extracurricular activities, right? Playing soccer, that kind of stuff. I'm sign up with different clubs and different leagues so that I force myself to go there, and because I know the people rely on me and for me to showing up. Otherwise, I would stay at my computer and continue working. So kind of trying to create things that force me to do active stuff.
Great. That's amazing suggestions. All right. And our final question for today's speaker series is, what role does networking play in advancing a career in machine learning?
Like anywhere else, this world is built by humans for humans. Relationships are important. I know I'm saying this for the umpth time, but networking is important. And yeah, that's how I landed basically all of my jobs in my career. And it's so much easier to ask someone to maybe vouch for you or like slide your resume in. So you have to start building relationships in your field.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Yegor. That is going to conclude our Q&A section of the speaker series. We appreciate everyone asking questions and contributing. And obviously, a big thank you to you, Yegor, for sharing your journey. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to do this today. And to everyone in the audience, we hope you enjoyed learning more about Yegor's career. As Fiona has dropped in the chat, please be sure to connect with him on LinkedIn and learn more about his journey on his personal website as well. And yeah, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you again, Yegor.